All right, all right, all right. Welcome in Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 147. This is week 7 of the NFL season. With me this evening, my co-host, it's Giselle's loss. It's also Justin Stevens, but right now it's Giselle's loss. You know, she's dropping this beautiful man dime that's sitting over Justin's shoulder. She's not going to be able to get anything better than that. But Justin, how are we doing this evening?
I'm I'm doing all right, but this is probably more embarrassing than I anticipated going into it. But I totally deserve it. This is and I kicked it up a notch. You didn't even ask me to put up Tom Brady, but I had the Eagles as my background last week, so it's only fair. So now Tom Brady's going to be staring at me with those puckered up lips the
Yeah.
entire episode. So
And your wife's in the chat, so
already, okay.
you better take that picture down.
I I have a feeling for that kind of money, she might accept alimony checks.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, Justin, how you doing, man? How was your week? How's fantasy football going for you? How's everything?
I'm doing pretty well overall. Most of my leagues, at least having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Frankenstank hates me. It absolutely hates me. There's nothing. There's no luck for me in Frankenstank, but I'm still having a blast with it. It's insane to see some of the different strategies playing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went against our friend Sven, who was last year's champion, and I dethroned him. I beat him. I gave him Alec Pierce, and I'm taking Justin Jefferson. I'm 6-0, and I'm steamrolling. And we've been brainstorming a little bit. So to all of you who are playing Frankenstank and are sticking it out, it's a listener league. You know what I mean? We gave away a lot of entries. Read the bylaws before you dip, because some people, they're not cut out for it and they dip. But we have like tons of payouts. So even if you think you're not going to win the championship, just make sure you're paying attention to that. Those who've stuck it out, who are in the chat, who are giving their all, or at least setting a lineup, because you want to come back next year. We're going to expand this thing. This monster is going to get bigger and better. You dip, you're out. You're not coming back. But go ahead, Justin.
And I even added a couple of things today, like extra free spots for next season. If you win the consolation, we're going to give away T-shirts for some consolation tournaments. I'm going to personally donate to a charity of your choice if you win one of the consolations. I haven't told executive producer Lori that yet, but we got some good news today, and I'm sure she'll be okay with that.
And we got Patreons now. We got some support, so we're grateful for that. So we can afford to put that money back into the community and
and if your charity of choice is patreons.com/ToiletsToTitles, we're perfectly okay with that too.
Yeah. Man, so we're like brainstorm. So here's the thing. It's a vampire style league. It's bananas. There's a chance by week 4, week 5, you don't have much hope, but you know that going in. You know what I mean? Like last year, I was out right away. It is what it is. But we are working on some different things for next season. Rich, what's happening? Lori, how you doing? I see Joseph's in the chat. He said, "Let's go Giants." I'm sure he's fired up, man. We'll talk about that later. But the Giants fans, they deserve to be fired up, man. Good for them. But we were kind of toying around with. There's nothing better for me than brainstorming something I enjoy discussing and building, like the way my brain works. I really get into it, and Frankenstank excites me, and toying with it, and the fact that there's so many ideas we can put out there, things I've never done before. So we're messing around with ideas, the ways we can make it a little more competitive next year for those who do get taken out early. And we've kind of tossed around the idea of a relegation system where if you lose, and this would be a lot of work. I don't know how the hell we do it, but we figure it out. We have a whole year to do that, where you could get knocked down into a loser's bracket and then play only losers and then have a chance to play back up into the winner's bracket. I haven't mentioned this to the guys. I'm also thinking, if you lose a player and there's only X amount of players in the league, like what if I create a player? What if I create 10 players that only are available in the losers bracket, and the losers can win one of those players, and then they can go into that season and that player is guaranteed to give you 30 points a week, not changed, like week in and week out. So you could win that player in the losers bracket, move into the winners bracket, have them in your lineup weekly. I think that would be something that could help these teams that have lost players, so that's something I'm toying around with.
I was kicking around that idea in my head without being in the chat. or without going into the chat for this, maybe possibly those losing teams, if you lose the first 2 or 3 weeks in a row, you get added a coach that you can put in your starting lineup, where if they win, you get double the amount of points that they won by. If they lose, you take away, or maybe you still get the points that they lose by, but you get double points if they win. Whatever, something like that, where these losing teams get a bonus for the rest of the season, even if they start winning.
Yeah, and Rich said we can call the players monster heroes, or we can call it the monster squad, even though that's probably already taken. We can come up with something different, but we can have a squad of different positions that are in the losers bracket. But see, just so you know, you want to get in the Frankenstein League. Right now we have 3 openings. 3 people bailed. So if you're listening at home, you're not in. It's a lot. It's a little overwhelming, but we have an episode discussing it. So if you want in, DM me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps or comment below. Let us know. Get me your details. And we could send you that episode so you can listen, get caught up. We can get you in the chat. And if you join now, and if you play out the rest of the season, set a lineup, be a contributor to the league, you get in free next year, and it's $25 value. It's free. Like you're doing us a favor, and we're doing you a favor. $25 value. So we hope to see you in there. Follow us on the Twitter at ToiletsToTitles. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment on some episodes. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you have Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review, man. Every week we've been reading out these 5-star reviews. These 5-star reviews help us move up in the algorithm so we can get heard and found by those who are looking for fantasy football content. And again, with the YouTube stuff, man, when you subscribe, when you comment on episodes, you might not think that's a big deal, but all that affects the algorithm and it helps us get out there. And we really do. We greatly appreciate that. So, Justin, you want to read off? I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I'll bounce back, but I'm already talking about Apple Podcasts. Why don't you read off a recent 5-star Apple Podcast review?
Yeah, so 5-star Apple Podcast review from Sam S. It's titled True Talent. So if you title this 5-star review with something that's very flattering like True Talent, it's probably going to catch my eye. So it caught my eye. I threw it on here. Sam says, I love what these guys are trying to do with their show. They have evolved into something very special, and I will never miss an episode. Crazy fun, super talented, and informative for all levels of NFL and fantasy football information.
We appreciate you, Sam. Thank you so much. Strong words. That's phenomenal. We appreciate you. To show our appreciation to the listener, to the subscriber, to the follower, and to those who are in the live chat only and who are not members of Toilets Titles. Sorry, Joe and Rich. You got to get Keegan in here, Rich. Get a chance to win. We are doing a $100 Fanatics gift card giveaway. All you have to do is during any of our live shows during the week, okay, all you have to do is comment, I'm a T2T Fanatic. And if you're already just talking to us on Twitter, just give us your handle as well so we could contact you if you win. Just, throw something in the comment, just so we can reach out to you if you win, because we'll announce it. But if you're not? So November 1st is when we're going to announce it. We're going to use random.org. I've been acquiring a list. Right now we have 23 entries. I told everybody we did this week 1. And once we get 50 entries, if we get 50 entries, okay, I'm also going to give away a $50 Fanatics gift card. So I'm going to throw all these names in there. And if you won the $100 gift card, you can't win the $50 gift card, okay? So we'll have 2 winners. We're going to do random.org on November 1st, put all these names in the list. And right now, Uncle Steve's the leader in the clubhouse because Uncle Steve listens to every episode, and he's commented probably. I'm gonna tell him I got to put a cap. I think we're gonna do like a 10-time cap. All right, he's entered 4 times. All right, so what is that of 23? So he's basically a little bit over a fifth of the entry. So y'all got to get in there. Jessica Reed said I'm a T2T fanatic, so I'm throwing her in there. All right, so Jessica Reed is a T2T fanatic. Fanatics.com has everything. I mean, even if you don't want to get NFL gear, MLB gear, the Yankees just moved on to the ALCS. If you're an Astros fan, if you're a hockey fan, whatever, Fanatics.com is your place to go. And hopefully we get up to 50 entries so we can give away a $50 gift card. So I'm a T2T fanatic. And here's a list of the live shows. Justin, why don't you read off the live shows? These are the shows that you can log in live and comment and increase your chances of winning.
So Monday night, you can't log in live. That one is our waiver wire episode only, done by the guy that's in the chat right now, the very own Joe Clark. That one only goes out to the Patreon, so you want to be a Patreon supporter. We'll get to that in just a minute. Tuesday nights, right here, the flagship show with us. Right after us, 9 p.m. H2H, the head-to-head IDP show with Nino, Jared, and Russ. Wednesday mornings, DUD, the Dud Show down under Dynasty with Ben and Matt. That's usually around 6:30 in the morning. Let's see, Wednesday nights. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Joe again. Joe knows T2T NFL show. He's going to discuss the next week's preview and the last week's review. At 10:30, the D2D gambling show with Nate, Rich, and Abe. That was actually more entertaining than you would imagine. I have to give him a shot. Friday nights, 7 p.m. with myself and George. We do the TGIF, This Guy is Fragile. That's an injury update show. And immediately following that is Nino and Jared with NCAA and Debbie Talk. That show is called P2P. Saturday nights, 9 p.m., a Dash of DFS show with Mike and Joe. That's Joe Arachi. Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m., The Blitz. It's a weekly start-sit show with Mike, George, Jason, Joe, and they've been having another guy on here. I need to update that, but yeah, it's pretty much a hodgepodge of just anybody. I was even on this week's episode, so whoever they can get to fill in for that show.
I was muted. Yes, sir. And also, I want to recommend some of our past shows, like obviously like weekly stuff, it doesn't have like lasting power, right? Like you can listen to, the IDP shows have lasting power, but obviously like a weekly fantasy show, you can go back and listen to it, but you want to stay current. But if you've been following Dynasty Diamonds by Nino, all right, he did an episode 26 with Dustin Ludke, where they did dynasty receipts. So fantasy receipts is kind of a big topic right now. It's in the fantasy community, and just kind of, what receipts are, like going back and checking somebody on what they've said and calling them out on it. And Dustin approached Nino, and I listened to this episode this morning. It's about 50 minutes, because throughout the off season and during the season, Nino was doing like these little 3-minute episodes about a diamond in the rough. You know what I mean? So you could insert into your lineup. And Dustin called him on about 3 of them, but then he praised him on 3 of them. And I mean, it was what was great about this was it kind of discussed his process, how he found these players, why he found these players. And Dustin kind of checked him on his process on some of these players, but then he also, on the players he hit on, you got to hear his process there. So, if you're new to fantasy football, or even like if you've been playing for a long time and you're looking to have some different perspective, I would say go back and check that out, because that was an absolutely phenomenal episode. So there are some things in here. You go back, check out some of these old episodes. You definitely want to check out the old Frankenstein episode, because that's gonna get you caught up, so you can get in there and play there. All right. So I see Keegan is a T2T fanatic. So Rich went ahead and got his son there. Keegan. And
then Eric, I see you in here. If you are also a T2T fanatic,
you got to let us know.
You got to put that in.
You got to say it. He says, I am. Don't count.
And give us your Twitter handle with it too, or a way to contact you.
I know Eric. I know Eric.
In the draw. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I can find him.
Does this count? Does this count?
No. He said I am. He said T2T fanatic. You got to say I'm a T2T fanatic.
He's almost there.
He's very close.
He's got half. He just needs to put it together.
He's very close. All right. I'll count him. I'll count him, because I think it's coming. All right. So we discussed the weekly episode. We discussed the Frankenstein opening. So Justin, we'll go over bye weeks real quick. It's a big bye week. Like, this is a bye week monster. I got Cooper Kupp on a lot of my rosters. I got him last year. I was pretty high on him going into last season with Matthew Stafford, and it worked out. And I held him in a lot of these leagues. So these leagues, he's been carrying me up. There he goes. Eric finished it. He's a T2T fanatic. So we got him in there. We appreciate you, Eric. So we got Cooper Kupp out in a bye week. We got Josh Allen with the Bills, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, who the Bills might look different when they come back. We're going to talk about that. They might look a little bit different, but as they are now, all right, Justin Jefferson, I have him as well. And then you got the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And this guy's an unsung hero. It's Dallas Goedert, however you want to pronounce it. I feel like when I put together my all dudes team at the end of the season, I'm definitely going to put him in there, because he's on a weekly basis. He gets it done. And he's a phenomenal player, like football wise, but also fantasy wise. He is so consistent. He doesn't get a lot of praise. So there are a lot of players. Are you affected by the buys at all this week, Justin?
Yeah, a little bit, just because, like you said, there are so many. But I mean, what's great about it is across the board, you're also going up against a lot of teams that have a lot of bye week issues. So
All right. Well, let's. Do you have the news doc pulled up? Let's talk about some news, some injuries. I got it pulled up if you don't, so I'm ready to rock.
yeah, I got it. There is one thing that I noticed is not on here that I was going to mention real quick. I
All
mean,
right, go ahead.
Hollywood Brown injury is on here, but I want to remind everybody that Robbie Anderson just got traded to Arizona, so I think that maybe that might have had something to do with it. So I'm actually going to start there because of that, because I think that Robbie Anderson is still at least somewhat fantasy relevant, probably more so than he was with Carolina. Now that he's in that more high flying offense, but once all those receivers get back, it's going to be right around playoff time for your fantasy leagues, and I think he probably becomes irrelevant again.
I
He's
love Rondell Moore, man. I can't give
Yes,
up on him.
no,
I
I
can't get
agree, and you're
like
going to have Rondell Moore still, only
yeah.
now with Robbie Anderson and with DeAndre Hopkins coming
I,
back.
I was sitting with a Packers fan today, and I know like insert any wide receiver available with the Packers because they need to get, but they're the only person in the world. The GM of the Packers is the only person in the world who doesn't know they need a wide receiver, it seems. But Robbie Anderson would have stepped in and filled that Marquez Valdez Scantling role to a T.
Yeah, I
You
can
know,
see that.
that field stretcher. But yeah, Hollywood Brown goes down. The MRI came back. The X-rays were negative, but it could be 6 weeks. Could be. I guess right now it's at what 6 weeks. That's what it says here. So I don't know. It's
And
possible.
how
He's
funny
out for
is it
longer,
that
but
he's getting a second opinion from a Dr. Robert Anderson, and they just signed Robbie Anderson? Like, of course he's going to say, "Oh no, he's out 6 weeks."
well, where did he stay? Where did he stay when he first joined
The
the team?
Holiday Inn. That's right. Yeah.
That's probably what
Yes.
happened. So they called him up. They knew. They set that up on purpose. They set him up at a Holiday Inn so he could get his credentials.
That's
All
right.
right. Carson Wentz has the finger injury. Media reports that the Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks after fracturing his finger in last Thursday's win over the Bears. Given the timeline, an injured reserve stint is on the table for Wentz. So some people thought it'd be Howell. You know, I think it should be Howell. I like Heineke. I do, but especially what he did in the playoffs a few years ago against the Buccaneers. What a gutsy performance. He's never lived back up to what he did that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think he's a decent quarterback. I think the team's in shambles. You're not, the NFC East right now is through the roof. Everyone is playing lights out. Even the Giants. The Giants are 5-1. You whatever you think about that roster, they're 5-1. So you ain't catching them. You're not catching the Cowboys. You're not catching the Eagles. Put Sam Howell in there. The only thing I could think is maybe they're not putting Sam Howell in there because they like him for the future and they don't want to ruin him. But if you don't really care, find out what you got with the kid and put him in there.
I don't know. I really like Taylor Heineke. I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, not great, like.
But you understand what I'm saying. Like, do you want to go with the guy who's good
Hey,
to
as a
end
Colts
up
fan,
500, or do you
as
want
a
to
Colts fan
find
that
out what you
wants
got with
him,
this guy?
you already know that how I feel about Wentz, and I thought that was an insane signing. I legitimately feel like Heineke is head and heels above Carson Wentz. I think he's that much better than Carson Wentz. It was ridiculous that they ever signed him to begin with. I mean, I really think that they can win football games with him. I think he's that good personally.
Right. But do you want to win football games as much as you want to find out if the future is on your roster?
I get that.
You know,
That's fair. That's
because
fair.
what happens? Say you bring Taylor Heineke in, you finish with 6 wins, right? Now you're picking 10th, 11th,
Yeah.
12th.
But and I'm going to mention this a little bit later on with one of the topics that I brought up or that I'm bringing up later. But I mean, isn't it like an extremely deep level of quarterbacks and other positions?
Yeah.
That are up in this
CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker for Heisman. Dude, I'm going to get paid. The odds on that were like plus 900
Wow.
before the season.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like even at 6 wins or 8 wins or even a playoff team that gets booted out early, you still have the potential of getting a top-notch quarterback because a lot of the lower busted teams have the quarterback that they feel like they need for the future already.
But what if Sam Howell is that quarterback and they never find out?
I mean, if he's that quarterback, they'll find out. He'll show up.
I mean, yeah, but Dak was terrible at practice. But when you put him out in the game, that's when he showed out. He was behind Kellen Moore. And I know this is every situation is different. So right now, I'm just debating with you for the sake of debating because I won't know if I'm right. You won't know if you're right. We're just these are our opinions, right? That's but just for the sake of with Dak, if Kellen Moore didn't get hurt after Romo got hurt, we might not have known. Then we pick early and then we draft a quarterback. So I'm not saying Sam Howell's that, but you also don't know,
right?
So. But Ron Rivera cannot give up on the roster yet. As a head coach, he will lose the roster if the team knows that Sam Howell ain't ready. But now on the other hand, if the team sees and Sam Howell is lighting it up in practice and he doesn't put out there, he can lose them as well. So you have to think that Ron Rivera, as a veteran coach, has he's gauged the temperature in the locker room, and I'm sure he's making the right decision. That's why he's there. That's why we're not there. But we put a lot of time on the Washington Commanders. They stink, as Nate would say, Friday nights. Russell Wilson, speaking of guys that stink, his latissimus dorsi hamstring strain reported on Tuesday. It could be a fairly significant injury, which I thought I had him and Dak in a redraft league, Superflex, and I was like, man, I'm gonna crush it. Yeah. I'm gonna crush it. Dak's coming back. Russ is on the bench, but I picked up Skylar Thompson because I was drinking the Kool-Aid. That didn't work out. Now I got to try to pick up Bailey Zappi, but he might be out for a significant amount of time. Kenny Pickett's out with a concussion, so Mitch Trubisky's back in. Pickett might miss a week or two. Aaron Rodgers is a thumb he's dealing with, so it's an undisclosed thumb injury, which with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like there's a lot of things that are undisclosed, and I'm not talking football stuff.
Hey, can I mention something real quick about the Russell Wilson thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we just talked about how the Commanders suck, but somebody that does not suck is Dr. Jesse Morris, who was just on TGIF last Friday, and he was talking about this latissimus dorsi injury or whatever. It's like a high level lat injury, I believe he said. But essentially what he said was this is something that Russ could play with, but it absolutely will affect the way he throws. And unless he takes at least 2 to 3 weeks off, it's not going to heal itself. He said that the team would be smart to shut him down. And he said this before this week's games. The team would be smart to shut him down for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a week before and a week after the bye or something like that, just to kind of give him that little bit of time off, let it really heal itself. Because if he doesn't let it heal, it's not going to get worse, but it's not going to get better. And the more he throws, it'll just always stay bad. And he said it absolutely is affecting his throwing, and he thinks that that's why he's underperformed as much as he has this season.
Lori says it looks like you're drinking the Tom Brady Kool-Aid, but can you blame Justin for drinking the Tom Brady Kool-Aid? I mean, Giselle, she doesn't know what she's going to be missing. Sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone, and it's her loss.
Maybe right? She finally realized that he kisses his kids with the open mouth.
Justin, you're not on brand for your punishment this evening. None of that will be allowed. All right. Last week I had to grin and bear the fly Eagles fly. So you're gonna grin and bear this. But Russell Wilson, someone tweeted this out today. I wish I can give them credit, but I can't remember who it was. And they were discussing the restructured contract that the Broncos gave Russell Wilson when they traded for him. They don't have an out until 2025. He's 124 million dead cap this year, 107 next year, 85 the year after, and 49 the year after that. All right. His cap hit goes up 17 mil this year, 22 next year, 35 the year after, and then 55 the year after that. So essentially, before the out, it's a 4-year, $161 million contract. If they cut it after 2025, when he's 37, he already looks cut. It's still a $31 million hit after that. So do you think he'll bounce back, or are they just going to have to stomach this?
I mean, they're going to have to stomach. Who are they going to find? That's, I mean.
And well, no, the hope is he can shake it off and look like Russell Wilson. So, I mean, that's what I mean. You think he's just going to stink for the next 4 years?
He's at that age. It's very possible. Very possible. And then
Right.
they like you said, they have to stomach it. They have to deal with it. Like nobody could have saw this coming. But personally, I really do, just based off of what the doctor said on Friday, I really do think that it's that injury. I mean, wholeheartedly. I don't think that he's gonna suck like this all the time.
Man, the Giants fans were screaming for Russ. Sure, they're glad they didn't get him. It reminds me of when the Cowboys fans were screaming for Paxton Lynch and the Broncos traded in front of him so they could draft him, and we ended up with Dak. So the Broncos keep doing us favors in the NFC East. All right, Aaron Rodgers is a little banged up. He never does anybody a favor in the NFC East. He's crushed me a few times, but it says it's affected him on some throws. So we'll see if this continues to be a thing. I don't know what's more of an issue, his thumb or the receivers in that offense and their lack of experience. PJ Walker has a neck injury. He wasn't able to finish the game, so he indicated afterward he should be able to play next week. So that's something to keep an eye on. Dustin Hopkins, we got some kicker news.
The
He's
hero.
he strained a hamstring during the game. That's 2 to 4 weeks. So if you got Dustin Hopkins, drop him. Pick up another kicker. Skylar Thompson fractured his finger, and he was bleeding against the Vikings. Teddy Bridgewater came in, but now Tua Tagovailoa is cleared. So that's a done deal. I still think Skylar's a stash. Hopefully you didn't take him off your taxi squad like I did, because now I have to keep him on my roster, and he's taking up a spot, and it's going to be hard to keep him. But I do like his future. I think he's got a future in the NFL. Saquon Barkley got a shoulder thing. He was slammed to the turf, but I think he'll be fine. Saquon Barkley's a mutant. J.K. Dobbins had a knee, which is very interesting. I'm nervous about J.K. Dobbins. I do not feel confident in him at all. He had knee tightness on the same knee that had the ACL injury. It's not good. Kendrick Bourne had a toe injury. Randall Cobb's got an ankle. Cameron Brate has a neck injury, which is interesting. Who's the tight end? Let me tell you right now who's the tight end backup to it's Cade Otton, I believe.
Yeah,
Who's the backup to Cameron Brate. So that's somebody you want to pick up, because just out of like the receiving options there, Brady loves his tight ends. Cade Otton's going to get targeted. Deion Jackson has a quad injury. Joshua Kelly sprained MCL. Maybe that'll get Isaiah Spiller some touches. So do you have anything to say on any of these other names that I mentioned?
No, I mean, Deion Jackson, you may as well go ahead and drop him again, because now that the other running backs are starting to get healthy in that stable, I feel like Jonathan Taylor was a preventative bench this last week, just to make sure that he was ready and right for the Titans coming up this week. So I don't see Jackson getting playing time anyway.
Someone needs to check George Reed's body temperature. He must be up in an attic in Florida right now. The temperature is probably 120 degrees and his brain is fried. Paxton Lynch is better than Dak. Get out of here. Though I did like Paxton Lynch coming out. I did, but man, he did some weird dance at the combine or some senior thing, and I was like, oh, this ain't it. Paxton Lynch ain't it. It was all downhill from there. But Justin, you were telling me before the show, I don't know if you were prepped to discuss it now, but about a fantasy. Your friend from the Clock Dodgers brought it up to you, and I think now would be a good time to get into it.
Yeah, so it's Neil from the Clock Dodgers, Neil Maligno, and actually George is also friends with them, and he kind of reached out to me today just as an attempt for me to go check out a website that he's affiliated with right now. It's called rivalfantasy.com. I did check it out. It seems extremely interesting. It is a betting site. I will say that there's also another little extra bonus here, in that they're guaranteeing the first $50 back at you if you lose. So if you lose your first $50, I think you have to deposit the $50. But if you lose that first $50, they're willing to pay it right back to you. You'll probably have to leave it on there to make more bets. You know how that works, but it's a guaranteed $50 bets. I'm not exactly sure on those details. You'll have to check out at Clock Dodgers on Twitter for any details, or DM me through the show, and I can get you DM'd, hooked up through other, because I'm in a few chats with Neil that I can get you set up with him. But just to give you an idea, there's 3 different ways that you can play on this site that I was able to find. One is a straight up challenge. I don't know if you can challenge, like if I could just come right out and just challenge you, John, or if you have to challenge a random person. I don't really know.
Challenge accepted.
Exactly. So, but you place your lineup just like a fantasy football lineup, and you go head to head with somebody, and you're just betting for that 1 week. So So if you're in a slump right now and you're having a rough time, and I think that my wife's on a delay and she's just now laughing at your comment about accepting the challenge. But anyway, so you're having a rough time with your fantasy leagues and you want to throw in an extra bet or two. You can hop on. It's kind of like DFS, only you're only playing against one other opponent straight up. And it looks like for this one, there's the betting amounts most likely are going to be like the bottom one, where it's anywhere from $5 to $400 per bet. The next one seems a lot of fun. John, this is the one you and I were talking about before the show, but it's the fantasy bingo. This one has several different, it's just like bingo. It's a 5x5 square, and there's different achievements that you can have on this grid. So stuff like this particular player is going to have greater than 50 rushing yards, or this particular player will have 3 total touchdowns, or a player will have 3 total touchdowns, or whatever it is. But you place your bets, and it only costs $1 a board from the looks of it. Bingo card only costs $1. You buy as many cards as you want. If nobody wins, then that jackpot rolls over to the next day. So I think it's more than just fantasy football, to be honest with you. So when it says the next day, I think you can like do an NBA or a Major League Baseball or whatever, and keep rolling it over until somebody wins the jackpot. And then the last one, fantasy book. This is also kind of interesting, especially for those of you that like parlays. You like to risk a little bit less to try to win a little bit more. You choose 2 to 5 players, and what you're trying to do is it's just over and under on their fantasy points. So if Hollywood Brown is slotted to get 6.5 and you think he's going to get more than that, you lay the over on Hollywood Brown, then you lay the under on Aaron Rodgers, and the way over obviously on Jonathan Taylor, or whatever the case is. And you place your parlay 2 to 5 players, and if you're right, you win. And the more players you have in that parlay, the more you potentially win. So again, that's rivalfantasy.com, and I might see if I can't get Neil to come on here next week to try to talk to you guys a little bit more about it.
Man, the whole time you're talking, I feel like you need to keep that Brady wallpaper. He looks like your hype man. The way he's looking at you after you're saying stuff, it's like it looks as if you're just saying mind-blowing things, and he's just like this guy's on fire. Like that's the look he's giving you right now. I know you don't have much love for him, but he's hyping you up. If you're watching at home, you understand what I'm saying. It's just like anytime something comes out of Justin's mouth, Brady just looking at him like, that's heat. That's heat right there. You know what's heat though? Joining our Patreon. All right, because that helps us keep running this ship. All right, and this ship is set sail, and we're coasting, and we're trying to bring you fantasy football content, NFL, college football content, IDP content, NFL draft content, all that good stuff. And we need your support. You join the Patreon. We have different ways we can help you out as well. So one hand washes the other. Patreon.com/ToiletsToTitles. Tier 1 is $3. It gets you into our Discord chat. Tier 2 is $5. It gets you into the Discord chat. Also gets you early access to the waiver wire episode, which is on the Patreon app. It also gets you entry into Frankenstein. Tier 3 is $7.50. Gets you one-on-one draft advice, one-on-one DFS advice from anybody at the Toilets Titles team, as well as everything I mentioned below. Tier 4 is $10. Gets you free entry into Frankenstein and everything else I mentioned. That's a $25 value right there. So right away, you're making $15. And then Tier 5 is the big one. It's $20. Gets you one-on-one roster analysis in season, out of season. Gets you a 30-minute episode on any one of your fantasy leagues. So if you have a home league with your buddies and you want us to do a breakdown, we'll break down trades, we'll break down the draft, we'll break down rosters, waiver, we'll break down the rules, the scoring, all that just for you, and we'll put it on our channel. So anybody who's listening, they could check it out, and it'll be all about you. So that helps us keep this thing going. And also, hopefully, we offer some cool things in there that, it's the juice is worth the squeeze. So the games of the week. All right. This is we've been going back and forth about this Brady thing. If you're not familiar with the show, the games of the week, it's a competition me and Justin do. Every week we pick a game of the week that we're interested in. And whichever one has the lowest points differential, he's the winner. And whichever one doesn't is the loser. And the winner gets to choose a name that the loser goes by during the episodes. Justin doesn't have the bubbles up, but usually in the beginning of the show, we got the bubbles. And usually our Twitter handle's in there. And his this week is Giselle's loss. Last week, mine was Fly Eagles Fly. And Justin hurt me to the core. He broke me down, and I think he was really pleased with himself about that. But it hurt. You know what I mean? And so last week, though, even though he hurt me, I won. Justin picked Patriots at Browns. It was the 1 p.m. game. It's 38-15. So that's a big one. 13-point differential. I picked Bills at Chiefs. It was 24-20. It was a 4-point differential. We keep track of this. So we've been pretty close up until this week. I'm in the lead now. My points total is 54 and yours is 72. You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, that's what I get for choosing a Patriots game. So I totally deserve it, and I feel like our friendship was on ice this last week. So I'm glad that we're finally even, so we can move on and be a little more friendly about it. But and honestly, I feel like you were even still a little more friendly about it because of this week's game of the week. You were friendly enough to allow me to have the game that I probably would have chosen either way, because you're always the first one to get to choose, and I feel like every
I
other
don't get to choose. I get on the dock before you do.
right. I mean, let's be realistic. I'm not getting on that damn dock at 6
But
in the morning.
but
On
it's
Tuesday
you
morning.
know, I don't give myself permission to choose first. I
No,
get
no,
on it.
I was gonna be
Yeah.
nice about it. I was gonna
Okay.
say, like, it seems like every other week though, you don't take the obvious pick. You give me the opportunity to
I'm
take
a
it.
good guy.
And I feel like you did that this week. You gave me the opportunity to take the game that I probably would have taken anyway, and I did. So I chose the 1 o'clock game, Colts at the Titans. I feel like this is going to be a little bit different game, a little bit different setup than it was the last time we faced each other. This time it's in Tennessee, so it's going to be a little bit tougher of a matchup. The Colts are finally starting to come around a little bit more. They're starting to run the ball more. I know last week not so much, but when all your running backs are hurt, I mean, even then they still were able to get a good running game going with Jackson. Um, this week the Titans were on bye, so they had the entire week to prepare for the Colts. They beat us by 7 last time when it was in Indianapolis. There's really logically no reason why I would choose this game for the purposes of this game for us to try to get the closest score possible. There's just something about this game though, because I feel like this is make or break for my Colts. I'm gonna be glued to the TV. I'm gonna be hyped about this game. So if I'm gonna do all that and I'm gonna be excited to try to see them win this game, I may as well make it my game of the week, and I'm gonna root for my Colts all the way through.
I wasn't being nice. I really have no interest in this game. But the whole time you were chatting about it, I was
Well, I'm
giggling
saying
and
you could have
smiling.
chosen it just to keep me from choosing it.
That's
That's what
true.
I meant.
That would have been cruel. But I've been giggling and smiling to myself because me and executive producer Lori Stevens are brainstorming a show, Justin's new show, Brady's Besties, or I like to call it Besties with Brady, and it's a WandaVision type show. All right, so Justin kind of creates Brady. Brady's not really there, but he's so close. It's something like that. We're brainstorming with it. We're gonna shoot the pilot. Besties with Brady. I'm a T2T fanatic. CT Birio. Let's put him on this, man. So we got another entry. We appreciate you. All right. So my game of the week, I got you. You're added, CT Birio. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Go Bills. He says, man, Bills are hot, man. Bills. After watching the Eagles up close last week, the Eagles are good, but I think the Bills are the best team of football right now. Now I don't think there's anybody close. My game of the week, I got Chiefs at 49ers. And I'm going to bring this right into my betting locks of the week. I got 49ers +3 against Kansas City at home. So I think this is going to be a great game. And I think the 49ers are going to pull this one off, man. The 49ers, besides the Eagles, are one of the teams in the NFC I think have the best ability to go out there and get it. Their defense is phenomenal. They're very well coached. They have a decent quarterback, but they have a good running game. Like a really good running game that helps their quarterback. Debo's a dude. Ayuk's a dude. Kittle's a dude. I mean, you look at the defensive side of the football. You look at Nick Bosa. You look at Fred Warner, Talanoa Hufanga. They got at every level. They have a stud. Then you got Dre Greenlaw, who doesn't get much praise. He's next to Fred Warner. I love this 49ers team, man. And what the 49ers are good at, they're good at slowing the game down and punching you in the mouth. And when you're getting punched in the mouth, and the game's lasting longer than you're used to, you get very uncomfortable. Like, it's not like you're getting punched in the mouth, the game's over. No, they drag this thing out. It's like they beat you up and they drag you through the street. And I think they're going to beat up the Chiefs this week. And this is another, it's kind of going into my dudes and duds. That's a little bit later. But the 49ers have given up the third least points to tight ends this season. Travis Kelce, they know Travis Kelce, like they take him away. Mahomes is going to be very, very uncomfortable. And if anybody can do it, it's the 49ers. And on the other hand, George Kittle knows Travis Kelce's out there. He knows the whole world thinks Travis Kelce's the best tight end. I don't know George Kittle personally. You don't know George Kittle personally. But what we know of him, does he seem like the type of dude who backs down to a challenge?
Yeah, not at all.
So yeah, I feel like this dude's going to be up. 49ers going to be up for this one. They're at home. So I like that one. Chiefs at 49ers. I'm going to keep going right into my betting locks of the week. My next one, this one's for you, Joe Clark, and Giants fans out there. I'm drinking the Giant Kool-Aid right now. I mean, the Giants +3 at Jacksonville. I don't think the Giants are a great team. I think they're a good team. I think it's funny. I think Jacksonville's decent, but I think it's funny that the Giants are getting points here. I don't know if they're going to win it, but last week they were my betting lock again. They were 5.5 versus the Ravens at home. I thought that for sure they'd cover. They end up winning the game. This week, I think they have a better chance of winning than they did last week against the Ravens. They're getting 3 points against Jacksonville. It's at Jacksonville. It's Trevor Lawrence. You got to think eventually the Giants, the shine is going to rub off a little bit. They're hot right now. They got the new coach, but ultimately they're not going very far. They're going to win ball games because they're a decent team, but they're not great. It's gonna wear off, but it ain't gonna wear off yet. I think they're gonna keep it close with Jacksonville this week. What do you think about these betting locks?
No, I love it. Actually, the big key there, like you said, the 49ers defense, if you're going to stop a tight end like Travis Kelce, you've got to have athletic linebackers, got to have big linebackers, and 49ers happen to have both. So I like it.
All right, why don't you go into the Turtleheads, my man?
All right, so the first Turtlehead I should have put on last week, and I almost put him on last week, but we do this show on Tuesday nights, and then Greg Dulcich, the guy that my first guy up, Denver didn't play until Monday night. So
UCLA great Greg Dulcich.
Exactly. So he, so the reason I was going to put him on this week, I wasn't expecting him to come back last night this soon. At the point that we had ran the show on Tuesday, it was still kind of up in the air and iffy, and I should have put him on there just to be safe. But let's face it, guys, the Denver Broncos have been trying to find a good to great tight end ever since Shannon Sharp retired. They just have not been able to fill that position with something consistent, something steady, and something good that's lasted for more than a year or two. Even the great Jacob Tamme went there for a season, and he couldn't pull it off. So that's a nod to you, true Colts fans out there that actually know who Jacob Tamme is. But yeah, as you said, UCL, great. He was one of the top tight ends coming into this year's rookie class. He's been out ever since the opening week with a hamstring injury. It looked to me like they were trying to play it safe. They did not want to bring him back a little bit sooner than they absolutely had to. And I feel like they were doing that on purpose. They wanted to make sure he was completely right before they brought him back. And it's because they know he's a good talent. He comes back Monday Night Football, his first game, catches a touchdown pass. I mean, he looks like the real deal. He was getting open. There were many times where he was open and Russell just couldn't get the ball to him for whatever reason. This week they play the Jets, so he's gonna have every opportunity to continue to keep rolling. So look for Greg Dulcich in your fantasy lineups or in your waiver wires. Unfortunately, since he had that big game last night, a lot of people are going to be targeting him, but I still think you could get him for fairly cheap because it's not like he had a huge game. But every single play I saw him out there, he was wide open. The dude knows how to run routes. The other guy, Latavius.
I'm going to add 2 tight ends. Well, first off, it's another one for Joe Clark. Joe Clark was real high on Greg Dulcich this offseason. If you listen to his NFL draft content. So Dulcich, phenomenal athlete. Get him. 2 other tight ends, Cade Otton and Jake Ferguson. All right. So those are 2 other guys that Turtleheads. I don't know if their ceiling's as high as Greg Dulcich, but if you can't get Dulcich, get one of those 2 if you need a tight end.
For sure. I mean, Tom Brady has to throw to his tight ends. Let's see. And not just because he had the great one for all those years, he just naturally always throws a tight end.
You heard it here. Justin thinks Tom Brady has a great one. Tight end.
I said he had a great tight end at one point.
Is that why Giselle's leaving him?
Even though
he doesn't have a great tight end anymore?
All right. Yeah, you got me there.
All right, we're running close on time. We got to keep going. Latavius Murray, go ahead.
Latavius Murray. So Latavius Murray. Obviously, we all saw last night on national television that Melvin Gordon is in the doghouse. I've never liked Melvin Gordon. I didn't like him when he was with the Chargers. I always said that he averages like 2 yards a carry, and he just happens to flop in the end zone 2 to 3 times a game for some reason. It seems like when Javonte Williams went down, this was his opportunity to shine. He has not been able to improve or impress. That look that we saw in his eyes when he was pouting and whining on the sidelines, he wasn't pouting quite as bad as Robbie Anderson was, but it was that same look, like I want out of here. And I guarantee you he's going in. He probably went in this morning. He's talking to the coaches, even last night maybe, and he's saying, I want to trade. I want you to cut me. I want to get out of here. So regardless, it looks like Melvin Gordon is going to be the RB3 there, if not playing somewhere else really soon. This is Latavius Murray's backfield now. For nobody would have ever imagined that that's how this was going to fall, but this is how it's falling. And for as lackluster as that backfield has been this season, he's still going to be the number one running back, and they're so hard to come by. Go ahead and spend that fab money. Go ahead and take that number one RB that's only going to get you 8 to 10 points a game, because it's something. It's a better bye week replacement than these backup running backs you're going to find everywhere else.
Abram Smith is a guy that isn't on a roster right now. Miami worked him out today. If I'm Denver and I do let go of Melvin Gordon, he's a guy I'd consider bringing in. I mean, I don't make those calls, but he's available. And Latavius Murray was a practice squad player, and he's gonna produce. You got to pick him up because the opportunity is going to be there. But if I'm Denver, I'm trying to bring in another option. But if there's no other option there, it's Latavius Murray. And then I think Denver's shown they can be a little stubborn. So if they got Latavius and they like him, I wouldn't be surprised if they just give it to him until they have to go elsewhere. So
and you college football guys like yourself, you know all about Abram Smith. So
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, out of Baylor. Yep. Dude was a linebacker, switched to running back. I think he had over 100 tackles junior year. Senior year breaks 1,000 yards rushing, so the guy can play. That's the type of guy you want on your team. But right now he's a free agent. So, all right, my dudes and duds for the week. My dudes, I'm starting this off, man. It feels so good to say it. And I talk about the Cowboys, but I also don't like to praise them too much because I'm superstitious. I don't want to jinx it, but I don't feel bad about this one. Dak Prescott versus the Detroit Lions. The Cowboys are going to put up 30+ this week. All right, it's going to happen. Detroit Lions are giving up the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this season. The Cowboys' run game has looked better. Like Zeke looked good last week.
Yeah,
Zeke had, dude, yeah. Like he had burst, and that is only going, and that was with them knowing we got to stack the box. We want to dare you to throw. Now you got Dak back. Dak hasn't had that good running game and a decent offensive line in like 2 years. So now he's got that. And now I think they've adjusted some of the game plan a little bit to the passing. I think you're going to see him throw less balls, but I think you're going to see him have more big plays. So I'm starting Dak Prescott. I'm also starting Matt Ryan for you, Justin. All right, at the Tennessee Titans. Matt Ryan is coming off of his best performance of the year.
You're crazy, man, but I'll take
it. Last week he was 42 for 58 for 389 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I've had this argument with other Colts fans in Colts chats recently, and when he has time to throw the ball, he is exactly what we need him to be.
Yeah.
The problem is he just isn't getting time.
Well, the last time he faced the Titans this year, he finished the week QB 11, that's a QB1. You got 12 teams, it's a QB1. All right. I think he's going to finish top 7 this week. You might be listening at home and say, that's not a dude. I want a top 4 guy. It's Matt Ryan. If you got Matt Ryan in your roster and you're starting him, that means you don't really have great options. If he finishes top 7 for you, that's a dude performance for you, especially given what he's done. The Titans are giving up the 4th most points to quarterbacks. So Alec Pierce is coming into his own. Michael Pittman's a dude. They got 3 tight ends they like to throw the ball to. All right, so keep going. Kenneth Walker. It's back-to-back weeks for Kenneth Walker. I was talking him up last week. It's easy to do. I mean, he did it at Michigan State. He comes into a great opportunity here in Seattle. He produces. He's going against the LA Chargers. All right, so again, back-to-back weeks. He's going to show the world, again, that he's a true fantasy football RB1. He'll face the Chargers, who've given up the most fantasy points to running backs this season. We got a juicy matchup, man. This kid's going to eat. Leonard Fournette at the Carolina Panthers. Tom Brady, who's right behind you right now, he likes this one. I see it in his face. The Buccaneers passing attack seems to be struggling. The Lions struggling. But Fournette, he's eating on the dump offs. They're just giving little dump offs to him. He's going to get 6, 7 receptions, 40 or 50 yards on the ground. The Panthers are a dumpster fire right now. All right. So the Buccaneers, they need to get a win. They're gonna lean on their running back. All right. CeeDee Lamb versus the Detroit Lions. I told you to sit Lamb last week, and I was correct. All right. This week we'll face a below average Lions secondary. He'll have his QB1 back. CeeDee Lamb is going to feast. He's going to reward you guys who've held on to him. Next, Alan Lazard at the Washington Commanders. Lazard has found the end zone 4 times so far this season. All right, so at this point, you can almost count him to get in there weekly. He's faced 2 top passing defenses, and the rest of the defense he faced were all top 15. So the Packers have faced very strong secondaries. This week, the Commanders they face, they're the 28th ranked secondary. So I think you're going to see the Packers be able to open it up. Lazard got it done against those top opponents. This week, he's going to have an easy opponent. I expect him to do well. You're going to say something, you put your hand up, cover your mouth. You're good. You're good. All right. George Kittle versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm starting him. I talked him up early. All right. He's heating up. He was 8 for 83 on 10 targets in week 6. He sees Travis Kelce over there. He's going to accept this challenge. He's going to go out there. He's going to get it done. The Chiefs defense is ranked 20th against tight ends. I really like the matchup, and I like George Kittle to be up for this one. Finally, in my flex, I told you earlier, I like Rondale Moore. He's been on the receiving end of 18 targets over the last 2 weeks. All right. That is only 1 less target than Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is out. I know Hopkins coming back, but he, probably going to take him some time to ease in there. He took over the Dolchich role. Now he's going to take over the Hollywood Brown role. I know Robbie Anderson's coming there. He's going to stretch the field. I like Rondale Moore. Dude was great at Purdue. He's tough. He's shifty. He's gritty. He can get those tough yards, even though he's a little guy. He's strong and fast. I mean, if you watch some of those videos of him lifting weights, man, it's very impressive. I like him. And as a flex play, it's worth it, man. If he gets 18 targets over 2 weeks, so we get 9 targets again, comes in with 6 receptions for 70 yards. That's 13 points right there for a flex. Then if he gets in the end zone, boom. All right, let's go on to my duds. Patrick Mahomes at the San Francisco 49ers. I said to sit Jalen Hurts last week. I think he was QB 12. So he was right on the cusp of QB1. Decent performance. He only threw for 155 yards. All right, so what saved him were those touchdowns. It wasn't a great performance, wasn't a dead performance. It was right in the middle. I think Mahomes is going to be somewhere around there as well. All right. The Chiefs are coming off a tough loss, and the 49ers, man, that defense is absolutely phenomenal. I think he'll be saved by a touchdown or 2, but it ain't going to be a phenomenal performance. So you're not going to put Mahomes in your lineup. You're not going to get 30 points from him. You might get somewhere between 16 and 19 points from Patrick Mahomes. That's startable, but for Patrick Mahomes, that's a dud. Next, Geno Smith at the LA Chargers. On paper, this looks like a decent matchup, but I believe some of the Geno Smith magic is starting to wear off. Geno went 20 for 31 for 197 yards in week 6 against a middle-of-the-pack Cardinals defense. It's against the Chargers in LA. I expect him to go down. David Montgomery at New England. Patriots are giving up the 3rd fewest points to opposing running backs. They shut down Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt the week prior. David Montgomery. And also, Bears are saying they're going with the hot hand. So all it takes is a good series from Khalil Herbert, and they're going to pass it over to him. Next, Breece Hall at the Denver Broncos. I beat the drum for Breece Hall. He's a dude. Don't get me wrong. He's shown that the Jets invested in him wisely. But the Broncos defense is like the only thing they got going for them right now. That defense is strong. They're going to shut Breece Hall down. Terry McLaurin at the Green Bay Packers. I think it's going to be Heineke. Heineke gives him a better chance than Wentz. But the Packers, I said the Broncos defense is the only thing going for them right now. For the Packers right now, their secondary is the only thing going for them right now. And they got Jair Alexander. He's going to see a lot of McLaurin. McLaurin's been on my dud list a lot, which pains me because I like him a lot. But I think he's going to struggle this week. My next dud is every Jaguars wide receiver, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, it don't matter, against the New York Giants. I'm drinking that Kool-Aid. I said it already. All right. I don't know how they've done it. I don't, but they've done it. They got rid of James Bradbury. They're still all right. All right. Christian Kirk is 7 receptions for 95 yards over the last 3 weeks. That ain't good. Trevor Lawrence is only top 200 passing yards once in the last 3 weeks. That ain't good. The Jaguars receivers are going to struggle again versus the G-men. Kelce at the San Francisco 49ers. I talked about this already. I don't need to say it again. 49ers defense is great against tight ends. They know they got to take Kelce away in order to really hurt the Chiefs. They're going to try to make the Chiefs run the football. And I think Travis Kelce, they're gonna target him. He might get 5 or 6 receptions, but it's going to be for 30, 40 yards. I don't think you're going to see him break a big one. All right. Next, Dameon Pierce versus the LA Raiders. The Raiders are home. They're coming off a bye, and they're in desperate need of a win. That stadium is going to be absolutely bananas. I think they're going to be bananas. They're going to smell blood. They have to win. Pierce, you take him out, that hurts the Texans' offense. They're going to have to rely on Davis Mills, and I think the Raiders are going to make it a point to do that. So those are my dudes, and those are my duds for the week. Justin, what's your slow your roll or your all in for this week?
So my slow your roll or all in is an all in. I'm a huge Colts fan, and you wouldn't think that from watching me watch a Colts game as much as I yell and scream and cuss at them for doing all the wrong things, but it's because I'm passionate, right? So up until last week, I was prepared for them to lose again to the Jaguars. And if that happened, this week was going to be all in on pushing for tanking for a better pick. But the more that I've thought about it, I am finally all in on a Colts playoff push. This time last week, like I said, not looking good at all, but they did beat Jacksonville for the first time in ages. And I realized how bad, how really bad this division really is. The quarterback depth in this class, this rookie class coming up is going to be really deep. I feel like there's many bad teams, such as like the Bears, that already have a quarterback that they feel could still be the quarterback of the future. They may not have a quarterback high on their draft board for this next draft. So even a playoff team that gets bumped out in the first round could still potentially get a top-notch quarterback for next season or next year's draft. So the Colts have a solid shot at snagging their guy of the future in that draft regardless. So I'm going to go all in. I'm hoping for this Titans win, because if we beat the Titans, we've split it 1-1 with the Titans in the division. We'll have the sole lead in the division and an opportunity to win a crappy division. And we've seen it before. We saw it years ago with I can't believe it was, I can't remember. I think it was the Cardinals. They were like 500 on the season.
Seattle did it. Washington did it.
Well, I'm saying and made it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I believe it was the Cardinals that year, and they were
Kurt Warner.
Yeah. But I mean, it can happen. Like once you're in the playoffs, you never know, but you don't have a shot unless you actually make the playoffs. So
well, yeah,
I'm tired of being that fan that's just constantly rooting for a better draft pick. I'm ready for this push, and I'm ready to be the worst team in the playoffs, just to say they finally made the damn playoffs again, with some kind of potential with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I like it. And Shay's in here, one of our Patreon members. Shay, what's happened? It's nice to see you. Remember, we're doing a giveaway. If you're in the show, if you're watching the show, comment I'm a T2T fanatic on November 1st. We're going to put all the names of the entries into random.org. And remember, you can comment on any live show. I'm a T2T fanatic, and that gets you an individual entry. You can have up to 10 entries. All right, we capped it. That's the Uncle Steve rule. All right, so put it in there, enter. All right, so slow your roll. You're all in. This week, I'm all in on Friday Night Football, man. 2023, Amazon, Black Friday. The game's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Sign me up, man. Sign me up for games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Give me them. Give me all those days. Give me Tuesday and Wednesday off, and let's roll. And you know what else while you're at it? Give me a 9 a.m. every single Sunday. Why not? Just give me 9 a.m. It doesn't have to be in London. All right, us East Coast people, we're up early. We're doing our thing. I want to have my cup of coffee. I'm all in on the NFL, pushing it, adding more games. All right, Justin, this time next week.
I can't get with that, man. Maybe at least not.
I don't care what you can get with. This ain't you're all in. This is I'm all in. Was that Justin? Justin, you had a chance. You had a chance for you're all in. You next week. You know what you can do? Write this down on next week's show notes and do your slow your roll. Your slow your roll could be me slowing my roll on more games. But right now, this is my I'm all in.
All right. I'll save it for after the show then.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Go ahead, because the listeners want to hear it. Rebuttal me. You're all in.
My only thing is, when do they play the high school playoffs in New York? Because in the state of Indiana, that Friday night is high school championship games. They play it on Black Friday in Indiana.
My kids play travel soccer on Sunday, man. I'm out with my YouTube TV on. All right, I know it's not Friday Night Lights, but it's more important to me than Friday Night Lights because it's my kids. So, there's games on all the time.
Okay.
Justin just wants to be on a Friday night in Indiana with a blanket on in the cold with his hot cocoa watching some football. I
No,
can't.
they played at Lucas Oil Stadium, but I'm
There
just
you go.
saying, like it feels to me like it's kind of taken from the kids. Then, like I don't know, like that youth softball or youth soccer program that plays on that's on those commissioners.
Yeah, but I got it on my phone, and then it's just exciting. Even if I'm not watching it, it's exciting that it's going on. It's nice to check my phone and see there's fantasy points going up, which might hurt the NFL because I'm not watching it. If I'm at a high school playoff game, I'll be watching that playoff game, but I'll still have a buzz in the back of my head knowing that so and so's playing so and so at halftime. Let me check. Or somebody got hurt, somebody's down in the field. There's a 10-minute downtime. Let me watch it. It's nice to have it in the background.
I feel you.
It stinks when it's your team because then you're invested. But if it's not my team, I don't care. It's just nice to have it going on.
No, I don't think Lori wants to see football 24/7.
Slow your roll. Next week.
You make compelling arguments. When I first saw that on the doc, that was my initial reaction. But
you had a chance to slow you. That would have been the perfect slow your roll.
Yeah.
You dropped it. You dropped the ball. All right. This time next week. What was your this time next week last week?
All right. So last week, my this time next week was going to be that I'm finally willing to admit that I was wrong. I can stop waiting on Allen Robinson and Matthew Stafford to be relevant for fantasy. After getting held to modest numbers in week 6 against the Panthers, they have a bye in week 7, and then they come back to the 49ers and Buccaneers. I still wasn't too far off. Stafford didn't have a great game. Allen Robinson, he did score a touchdown this time.
He had a few beautiful catches.
But it still wasn't that great of a game.
I'm with you. Fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
He made some plays where it's like he should be fantasy relevant.
Absolutely.
That says even more about how bad Stafford's playing this year because Allen Robinson showed everybody the dude had some acrobatic catches last week.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. How about you? Last week, this time next week, we will say
Kenneth Walker is going to be a league winner. And we saw it. We're going to see it again, man. Kenneth Walker, where he was drafted, I discussed this last week. He was banged. So the hype train was super high. Then he got banged up, and it was like a groin injury. People were nervous. They didn't know when he was going to come back. His draft stock plummeted in redraft, right? So you got him late. Some people might have even got him on waivers, right? So that means you already have a solid roster, and you're adding him to it. And that's the type of guy that you could bring in late season, and that's going to help push you over the top. So I think he showed it as long as he stays healthy. This week, my prediction for this time next week, we will be saying that either DJ Moore or Christian McCaffrey look good in that new uniform.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right, especially DJ Moore. I've got him everywhere.
What's your prediction?
I feel like this is going to be a very high-flying scoring week this week in fantasy purposes because we have an awful lot of really good offenses that are playing against some pretty weak defenses. In particular, you've got a few good running teams that are going against bad rush defenses and good passing teams that are going against bad passing defenses. There's very few games where it seems like it's just going to be a really good close matchup. I think we're going to see a lot of blowouts that are going to be huge for fantasy purposes, and everybody's going to be living high on the hog this week.
High on the hog. I see Nino's in here. He said with the dynamic duo, I appreciate you, Nino. I told everybody they got to go check out your Dynasty Diamonds with Dustin Lutke. That was phenomenal. Your process, phenomenal. Love what you're doing. He's saying it's Zappy Nation. All right. So Nino, this time next week.
Happy hour.
Yeah. Zappy hour. I like it. We got to get t-shirts made up. All right. Nino's saying that this time next week, you're going to be saying Zappy for MVP. Frank Reich gets fired. That doesn't support the thought process of Colts going to the playoffs, man. So
I'm opposed.
Right. Yeah. Josh Jacobs, number 1 running back. That's what Rich Gonzalez is saying, man. So we got a lot of stuff coming in, but we got to wrap it up. All right, we'd love to sit and chat with you, but we can't. We got head to head with Jared, with Nino, with Clutch Russ. They're talking IDP. They're coming up soon, man. So we got to get off the airwaves so we can let them on the airwaves. if you're watching, the 7 people who are watching at home, if you're listening at home, get into the live. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, get into the live episodes, comment, I'm a T2T fanatic, win yourself a $100 gift card to fanatics.com on November 1st. Start off, that's the holiday season. Start off the holiday season, and then you can even take that gift card. You could get a jersey for somebody you love. You can give it to them on Christmas. It's the season of giving, man. Right now is the season of frights. We're getting real close to the season of giving. So we're giving to you. You're giving us. We can give to somebody else. You know what I mean? It's a big circle of giving. All right, let's keep giving. But regardless, hope you have a good week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, do all that good stuff. Check out ToiletsToTitles.com. We'll catch you all